an individual's rights. Then in the early 1990s, the company brought in this employment equity program, and ostensibly to protect women from discrimination. But then they did that by introducing reverse discrimination. So when I took early retirement in 1999, my comrades took me out for lunch and everything, and they asked me what I was going to do in my retirement. And I said that I was going to write a book to explain what human rights really were. And I did. So last year, I got in touch with Roma Kessa on the internet, and then we met several times, and that led to me becoming a member of the board. So tonight, Roma asked me to speak to you about the value and importance of human rights. So let me get into that. I have an aid here, so bear with me. So my topic today is the value and importance of human rights. To illustrate the value of such rights, I would like to use an analogy. Try to imagine driving a vehicle on a public road with no common rules for everybody. As usual, there would be many people driving about, each pursuing his or her intentions. It would be chaotic, and you could expect many collisions with attendant injury and death. Such a terrible situation has been prevented by the invention of practical, comprehensible rules of the road. These are approximately the same the world over, and enable a person to go to another country, rent a car, and drive it safely on their roads. Recognize that the rules of the road are essentially a code of rights for a person when behind the wheel of a vehicle on a public road. Now imagine that there was a code of rights that governed the interaction between people in any situation. As a person enjoyed security of his or her person and vehicle on a public road, he or she would enjoy security of his or her person and property at all times. This is the potential value of a universal code of human rights. Another human right is entitlement to what nature has provided. Actually, every person has an equal claim on nature's bounty. Think about it. Can anybody deny that? Yet, at many times in many places, a relative few have hoarded land, natural waters, or other natural resources so that the many do not have access. If human rights were known and respected, people could more readily make their living through nature and enjoy its recreational value. In this modern age, where the exploitation of natural resources is big business, true human rights theory says that every person is, in effect, a part owner of the commodities produced, and is therefore entitled to compensation. This compensation could possibly pay for one's sustenance, and so the value of human rights in this situation is clear. On the importance of human rights, I again would like to use an analogy or two. Imagine that you went to another place and tried to convince an audience, similar to my situation here, that blue is the best color. What is the authority behind your message? It is only your personal preference or your cultural upbringing or whatever. The listeners know this, and they know that they have the right to choose what color they prefer. Are you likely to make many converts? I think only the ones who already prefer blue. Let's take another case. Suppose you went to another place where for centuries people determined the long side of a right-angled triangle by adding the lengths of the other two sides and subtracting them out that depended on the included angles. They used an empirical formula that yielded an approximate answer. You try to tell them about Pythagoras' theorem. Who knows what Pythagoras' theorem is? Anybody? Okay, I'm going to tell you. It says that the square on the long side, or hypotenuse, of a right-angled triangle is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides. And it can be proved mathematically to be true. What is the authority behind your message? It is the truth. It is a truth that can be verified by anybody who will make the effort to understand the proof. How much confidence will you have in presenting this message compared to the message that the best color is blue? How much should you yield if challenged? How much should you compromise? 0. The truth is not for compromise. Now some people, not many, have tried to enunciate human rights in recorded history. Sometimes, especially since the mid-19th century, their pronouncements came from their personal preferences or their chosen morality or their cultural values. The authority behind their message was correspondingly weak, but they achieved wide credibility and influence in the world. How and why could be the subject of another talk. When I took over retirement in 1999 and made it my mission to answer the question of what fundamental rights every person is born with, I took a strictly objective approach. I approached it as I would an engineering problem, leaving my personal preferences, rights, values and philosophy aside to find the truth. The first thing I realized was that human rights cannot come from any person's morality or values or dreams of an ideal society, because such things can differ from person to person, and especially from one culture to another. Therefore, rights so derived won't necessarily be universal, as true human rights must be. So human rights are not invented, but rather are seen in the apparent arrangement of nature. In this respect, human rights are not like the rules of the road, which were invented for a purpose. My efforts strove to find the truth by looking at the fundamental structure of human existence. I aimed for the credibility of Pythagoras' theorem or the like. If I was successful, then my theory of rights has the authority of truth for anyone willing to read and understand it. If the rights proclaimed in it are true, that is, a property of every person, and protect the security of him and her and what they own, then they are important. If they proclaim an equal share of what nature has provided, they are important. If they protect every person from other people, even if those people are the majority, they are important. If they protect a person from a government ignoring their rights, they are important. The theory I mentioned is published in my book, Human Rights, What Are They Really? It is available online, principally at my website, www.truehumanrights.com. where it is sold in paperback version or as an e-book for the Kindle reader or as a PDF file. If the cost is an obstacle, I will send a free PDF copy to anyone who emails me with a request for same. My email is rshiggins@truehumanrights.com. And by the way, Higgins is spelled Higgins, not ENS, as in the written agenda. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Higgins. Those of us who are in the Human Rights League are very happy about those two people joining us. One of the problems we have so far, we are working as much as we can in this agency, and that is presenting the real human rights situations or human rights violations going out there in countries like Ethiopia to those people. And sometimes we fail to convince them. They don't believe us. There is what we call human rights violation out there, and what they call human rights violation here are really very different. The one we are talking about is about life, about survival. It's about being killed, being shot at and killed simply because someone tried to demonstrate, to protest. It's about being killed because someone tried to hold a different political opinion from the ruling party. It's about being killed or sent to jail for life because of putting pen to paper. When we tell them about this, they say, no, this never existed in today's world. There are true in some cases. You know, these are not issues here. They are history. They are talking about what comes after that. After life is guaranteed, after safety and security is guaranteed. But ours is at the survival. It's about being shot at, being killed extrajudicially. And those who do this, going free. And then now, it would be like, there would be one of our channels to pass on those messages to this part of the world we believe, and those individuals will be helping us with that. And that's one of why we are happy with those people joining us. And now it's time, the time is the government to tell us about especially what's going on now in Ethiopia in general and in Oromia in particular. And I'd like to welcome Wakina to the government and to the stage. Wakina is myself.